Hello Capricorn, and welcome to my channel, Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection between you and the person that you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. We'll be pulling for all three sides of the connection, so we'll look at your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it. The concept being that there are three sides to every story. So we're looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section we'll be looking at what is the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and to leave what does not. On that note, and especially if you're a cross watcher, just know this whole reading can be reversed. If that is the case for you, that is totally fine and totally normal. Again, the point is to take what helps and leave what doesn't. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Capricorn, we're going to jump on in. We're going to start with oracle cards, looking at your energy, their energy, and the energy in between the connection. Then we'll dive deeper into the story with tarot as we progress. But let's first, Capricorn, start with looking at your energy toward the person you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. This is for Capricorn's energy toward the person they are dealing with. Okay. You have this shattered card, and the first thing that really comes to mind is shattered expectations. I don't know if that's expectations around the connection. I don't know if that's expectations around this person. And then you have mirroring. I mean, right out of the gate, I can tell you that this has definitely been a very intense experience. Like, this connection brings a lot of intensity into your life. I mean, even on the bottom of the deck here, you have this triggered card. So I do feel like this connection brings a lot to the surface for you. Like, not only is the connection within itself I feel like it has been very intense, very painful in a lot of ways. I also feel that it's kind of poking at some deeper wounds here. So I don't know what happened here. I don't know what's going on. I don't know anything other than the fact that there's, these shatters expectations when it comes to this connection or this person, and it's bringing up a lot of stuff for you. And I think that, there's obviously going to be a lot more to the story than that. So, this is just, if we're starting out of the gate with that, I'm interested to see where this goes. But let's look at this person's energy toward you. All right, I'm going to get one more shuffle. Boundaries, dream come true, and then there's this communication card. So I definitely see, and then on the bottom they have ego. I definitely see where the shattered expectations are coming from, because in the beginning, I feel like this person, presented themselves as if they saw this connection as something that kind of meant the world to them. Like, with this dream come true card, I feel that this was something that for both of you was really exciting, had a lot of, potential there. And then out of nowhere, there's this boundaries card. It's like they just kind of shut down, shut you out, push you away, almost like something kind of switched. And the way that they started showing up in this connection was very, very different than the way that they were showing up in the connection in the beginning. Now, with this communication card, I feel like there was literally no communication around this. So it wasn't like, there was something that happened and something switched. Maybe there was an argument or, something like that, but nothing big, nothing that was just like, this big thing happened and then all of a sudden they changed. Like, I really feel like this, shift, this change that this person, that you experienced with this person was very out of the blue, and I feel very driven by ego. Now, this ego, if you can see, like, this imagery is all about, you see a shadow, right? I think that in a lot of ways, those terms can kind of be a little bit interchangeable, not in all ways, but, ego and our shadow self, because both are very driven by fear. Both are very driven by insecurity. Both are very driven by wounding, or fear of wounding. And I think that, I don't know what happened, but I do feel, as intense as this experience has been for you, I feel like it was equally intense for this person, and they had no idea how to handle it. So I do feel that, they kind of shut down, shut you out, pushed you away here. And then that is where I feel like these shattered expectations started to present themselves, because you were like, kind of promised the world almost, just to have, some things taken away. So I can understand for sure why it would show up in your energy that way. Let's look at the truth in between this connection. Let's see what Spirit has to say about what's going on here. Growth. No? Okay. The card flipped all the way around. Full 360 there. Robotic. And then dead end. Okay. I feel like it's a shift to, like, from this energy to this one, where there was something about this connection that was really, like, kind of blossoming, something that started to to flourish, to grow almost here. And then all of the, like, if you think, like, of the difference between growth, like, even just looking at, like, a flower, right? A flower versus, like, a literal robot. The warmth, the realness, the genuine aspect of the connection, it's like it turned really cold. Like, that's what I feel happened. And then after that switch, eventually I don't know if things necessarily came to an end here. I don't know. The way that things were definitely came to an end. And I feel like that's where a lot of your confusion lies, is maybe trying to figure out, like, what happened, what went wrong, what, where this person was coming from, maybe what you did wrong, if you're kind of over analyzing your actions. Because this is such and obviously these cards aren't literally black and white, but this is such a black and white difference and such a dramatic change in energy that it's going to leave anybody going, what the hell happened? Where did things go wrong? What was the deeper reasoning here for this? So with that, let's look at this overall theme of this reading here. I also feel that there's kind of a deeper meaning to this growth card here. Closure. And maybe that's what you're looking for. Just wanting to really find some peace here. Again, make sense of what happened. There are regrets. I feel like the regrets are on both sides. I feel like both people have some regrets when it comes to how this connection was handled. I think that there's a lot of overthinking in this energy, and there's a lot of overthinking on both sides. It's not just coming from your energy. It definitely is coming from your energy, though. I do feel like there is a lot of overthinking, maybe even second-guessing yourself, second-guessing what is possible for you in love. And that makes sense, right? When something switches so drastically, so dramatically, and so out of the blue, of course you're going to sit there. You're going to sit there and you're going to go, what? You're overanalyze every single aspect, like every single conversation, every single move that you made, every single decision, every single, time you guys spent time together. You're going to sit there and you're going to go, what was real? What wasn't? What did I do this? And did they take it that way? Like, I feel like there's a lot of that kind of going on here. And I do feel like they have regrets too, but let's dive into this and just see what unfolds. So let's start, Capricorn, with looking at your side of this, mirroring with shattered Capricorn's energy toward this person. I mean, yeah, that matches that shattered card energy, right? This Ten of Swords. It's this feeling of, and maybe there was betrayal, betrayal, abandonment. And this also to me kind of represents some of those deeper wounds that have surfaced too. Maybe there are, you know, past betrayal wounds there, past, you know, abandonment wounds, you know, just things that I feel has made this connection and how things have unfolded just really intense and really painful. And this Eight of Wands here. Because I feel like this, yeah, it feels like this happened really fast. It was kind of this whirlwind experience here. And then with this Eight of Pentacles, like to me, I kind of see this as, you know, trying to rebuild, trying to put yourself back together, trying to find maybe some peace to help you move forward, to help you find like your footing again. Because I feel like this connection has really done a number on you. And I think that it was very unexpected in a lot of ways. And I think it was very unexpected in both ways. It was unexpected in how strong your feelings were for them. And it was unexpected how fast everything really seemed to fall apart. And I think that that's where things are so confusing, is because I do feel to you, it feels like you were given this opportunity at something so beautiful, you know, so much potential, so much possibility, really got your hopes up just to kind of find yourself in this shattered place. And I think that, you know, you do deserve answers, and you deserve to, you know, find clarity in the midst of all of this. And I do feel that that's one of the things that Spirit is really trying to bring forth in this reading, especially when it comes to you know, finding peace in future relationships. Because, you know, when we go through situations like this, and I don't necessarily know what happened, right? I know there was a switch. I don't know what actually, you know, happened in terms of the story. And to be honest with you, I don't really think that that's any of my business. But I do, you know, when things switch like that, when we experience such a drastic change from somebody and we don't really know what happened or where that came from, like, it's gonna be hard. You know, our trust is really going to be broken there. It's going to be hard for us to open up, hard for us to believe that we can experience genuine connection when we feel like we had it and then lost it. So I feel like for you right now and the place that you're in, I do think that Spirit is trying to provide you with some clarity around this connection and kind of what, yeah, because then this is what I was saying. This Two of Wands in reverse with this Five of Cups, there's so much overthinking. And like, and I get why. I don't want to say, oh, just stop overthinking, because I think that sometimes that can be really impossible when you're trying to make sense of such a complicated and convoluted situation. There's a lot of grief here. There's a lot of sadness here. Man, Capricorn, you guys are really going through it when it comes to this connection and this person. And I think that, yeah, Seven of Cups. Because and this is what I hear. It's like, why did they do this? Like, why did they do this to me? Why did they, like, why me? Why did this happen to me? And I think that, like, when we go through so much like this, when we experience, you know, this kind of, you know, treatment, this kind of connection, this kind of dynamic, you know, we start to look at ourselves and we start to believe that there's something about us that, you know, that is deeply, unlovable or unable to experience that kind of love, especially when we give so much of ourselves to another person and we find ourselves, you know, feeling as if that, you know, even though we gave everything we have, it still wasn't enough. And I think that it's really important for you to know that you absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, are enough. You are capable of experiencing the love that you deserve. You know, people come into our life for so many different reasons, and it's important for us to try to understand the bigger picture of all of that so that we can move forward knowing we don't have to repeat certain cycles and we don't have to relive certain experiences. You know, we don't have to, you know, find ourselves back in places that wound us. And I think that we're willing to look at things that way, we can step outside of the experience itself and start to find a little bit of purpose and meaning in it. So I don't know. I think that, you know, and I'm not sitting here saying, oh, you should just be so grateful for this, but I do think the more that we can find meaning even in, you know, the most painful situations that we do experience, the more that we almost like get to this place where our life becomes better because of it, not, like that we need to just say like, oh, everything is always happening for, like we should just be so grateful for everything that is happening. But I don't know. I feel like Spirit is trying to bring you some clarity and some understanding of what is going on here, which I'm still a little bit confused. I think we'll get some clarity though when we jump into their energy, because I do want to see what is going on here. This person's energy toward you, Capricorn. Because yeah, with this dream come true and this boundaries card, it's like to them, they saw this as having just as much potential and, just as much beauty and love as I feel you did. This person's energy toward you. You put a lot into this. I can really tell. Yeah, because with the Eight of Pentacles here too, it's like, I wanted to, work on this. I wanted to find, a way through this. High Priestess in reverse. You could be dealing with a fire sign, Leo, Aries, Sagittarius. You don't have to be, okay? I kind of just see this person as having a really fiery personality, just being very intense. Like that's the word that keeps kind of coming to mind here. This person's energy toward you. Knight of Wands in reverse. There's that fire energy again. What is this trying to say? King of Wands. The Hangman in reverse. Whoa. Four of Cups. But where is all this stemming from? That's what I want to know. Like, what led to this? Like, I understand the behavior and what happened. Oh. The Hermit in reverse. Yeah, boy. This person has some deeply complicated energy for sure. Right out of the gate, seeing this High Priestess in reverse, this is very much like a disconnect from, intuition, right? But like just oneself in general, just being very disconnected from, one's emotions, how someone feels within. Like, I feel like this person is operating in a very, mental driven capacity, I guess is the best way I can say that. It's almost like they're not really all that connected to themselves. And I think that within itself causes a lot of issues, because there is, there's a desire here for sure. A desire to be loved, a desire to experience all that this connection really did have to offer. And I'm not just talking about the connection itself. I'm talking about you, right? Because you obviously had a lot to give to this connection and a lot to show up with. But, it's so interesting because even though this person recognized, like they see and saw the value in this connection and all of this that this had to provide them, Knight of Wands in reverse, there's this energy of sabotage, this lack of vulnerability, where it's almost like this person, is kind of very shut down emotionally. And that comes, that's very much a trauma response. It comes from, going through things that, because being disconnected from oneself is a protection mechanism. It's easier to handle the hard stuff when we're not feeling it, right? When we're not experiencing it, where we just kind of shut down and shut certain things out, and we just don't really deal with it. We don't really think about it. And that kind of feels like that's a lot of what this person has done in the past. So the way that they handled this connection was no different. It feels like though the desire is there and they recognize it's there, when it comes to actually letting you in, letting this connection get close, it feels like it's something that this person doesn't really know how to do. It's a very avoidant, energy. However, I think that, where things get so complicated here is that desire is very genuine. I feel like they have a desire for you. They have a desire for the connection. They do have a lot of care here. Like, I feel that in the warmth of the Queen of Wands and the King of Wands. And I feel like that's why those were really coming through, is because at the core, I feel like this person does have a big heart. I feel like they have a lot to give. They have a lot of love to, give to another person. But I do feel like they've kind of been wronged in the past too. So it's caused them to kind of go cold a little bit. And I think that side of them really started to come out in this connection, not necessarily because you did anything, but because they started to feel vulnerable, right? They started to see, and that's what happens, right? When in any connection, is as we start to grow closer to another person, we start to open ourselves up to that potential of the other person hurting us, right? And that's just kind of what relationships are all about. The closer you get to someone, the more you open up to that trust. And this person really struggles with that trust. I feel like they struggle to believe that other people are going to love them well, are going to, be, I guess, like, have good intentions when it comes to connections. It kind of feels like they've gone a little bit pessimistic. They're very pessimistic when it comes to relationships. And with this Hermit in reverse, I do feel like they find peace and security in being alone, even though that's not what they want. That is where they feel the most safe. They feel the most safe when they are not connected to someone, even though there is a desire for connection. So yeah, that energy is going to be really complicated. And I feel like that's where things really come out, when you meet someone and that desire starts to show, right? A desire for the connection to grow, a desire for things to really work out. And then as the connection starts to grow and that vulnerability starts to deepen and that potential for getting hurt starts to get very real, if you don't know how to recognize that and how to, see what's happening, if you're not connected to yourself enough emotionally, if you don't have that self-awareness to really understand your patterns or to understand how your past wounding affects you, you are going to completely shut down. You're going to say, this feels uncomfortable. I'm so deeply afraid of getting hurt, but I don't know how to point my finger at what's actually happening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut down and I'm going to push away. And that avoidant tendency is something that I think a lot of people who have been hurt in the past very much do carry. And unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do when you're dealing with somebody who has that avoidant tendency. There is nothing that you can do to make that person change. You can't love somebody into believing that love is safe. You can't show somebody that you're a safe person, because at the root of where things are, they have this wound that is driving their decisions. We had the ego card. I talked about the shadow. This person is very driven by the part of them that is essentially trying to protect them. And that's what the ego does. Our ego is not our enemy. Everybody has an ego. Our ego's primary goal is survival. It's literally to keep us alive, and to do so, where we get in trouble is when our ego starts to make decisions for us that align with protecting us instead of what is in alignment with our higher self, meaning that our ego will shut down, it'll push people away, it'll trick us into believing that it's better to be alone, that it's better to keep that distance. And sometimes when we've experienced so much hurt in relationships, we start to believe that we're deserving of being alone. We start to tell ourselves that we're not allowed to have love because every time we enter into it, we end up hurt. But that's not the truth. And I think that, this person does have regrets on how they handled things. But I also feel, and this is where I'm kind of seeing things with the Four of Cups, that they're not, it's like they look back and they're like, well, I did these things and I feel like that was the right thing to do, even though I wish that didn't unfold. It's like they almost are like justifying their behavior in a lot of ways, and not necessarily because they think you were deserving of it or because you did anything to warrant it, but because I feel this person is so deeply afraid of getting hurt that their number one goal is self-protection. And I think that that's where things, where Spirit's trying to provide you with a little bit of clarity is to help you understand that it doesn't have anything to do with you. It wasn't that you didn't try hard enough. It wasn't that you weren't attractive enough or that you weren't good enough or that you weren't, lovable enough. None of that is true. And maybe you're not thinking that is the case, okay? But some of us, can start to second guess those things. This person has their own wounding that they're going to have to reconcile before they're going to be able to have a healthy, sustainable relationship. Now, the thing that we have to remember is that our relationships with other people mirror something within ourselves. When we pull out wounding in another person, that the way that they respond to that wounding typically pulls out wounding in us. And that is leading us to understand what this dynamic and this cycle is trying to help us see about ourselves and about what we're experiencing in our relationships to this point. So I think that it's really hard because for you, like, you do see this person's heart, you do see, where they have that potential, but, I think that that's why you kind of maybe immediately pointed the finger at yourself and were like, it must be me, there's something wrong with me, or if that wasn't the case, trying to make sense of like what really went wrong. I think that if you were to kind of boil it down, both people have wounding here, and those wounds were very driven toward each other. And, a lot of times we have to try to look at things from the perspective of trusting that relationships make their way into our life for a reason. Our relationships are assignments. We are not destined to experience a certain kind of love. We are fated to stay in certain cycles until we learn from them. And that's the thing that we have to understand, is if we find ourselves in a cycle of betrayal, or in a cycle of abandonment, or in a cycle of attracting avoidant, tendencies, we have to understand that there's something there that our soul is calling us to learn. And I feel like Spirit is trying to draw you to that in this cycle and in this dynamic here. So there's a lot more to this story for sure. And I feel like that's why Spirit was trying to say from the very beginning, like, everything isn't, black and white. It's not, oh, this person did that, therefore they just don't care about you or whatever. This person has a lot going on below the surface that causes them to show up in a certain way. But there is always, asking the question, okay, why was this drawn into my life? What is this trying to teach me so that I can have the love that I deserve? Because that is still possible for you. You still absolutely have that potential, regardless of your age, regardless of how much you feel you've been through. Like, you still have the potential to experience the love that you deserve. We just have to be open to understanding the cycles that keep us from it. And that's one of the things that I feel like Spirit's trying to bring forth in this reading. In between this connection, you have growth with robotic. In the extended, I'm going to dive deeper into this, looking at the deeper purpose of this connection and the best way for you to move forward in alignment with your higher self. So really breaking down the dynamic, looking at that mirroring, and then I have an advice card to pull for you at the very end. Any information for this is in the description box below. What else is in the description box below is my upcoming workshop. It's happening in about 2 weeks. It's already halfway sold out, but there are still quite a few tickets available. It is all about how to read tarot. And the subtitle of it is a workshop for deep intuitive alignment. So in this workshop, it's not just about, shuffling the cards. It's not just about the definitions of the cards, but actually how to connect to yourself intuitively to help you read. There's no scale. It can be for beginners or for someone who's already kind of dabbled. I'm literally just sharing what I've learned throughout my journey with tarot to help you on your journey with tarot, to align, with your higher self and attract the life that you deserve and desire. So any information for that is at the very top of the description box below. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment or shoot me an email. Thank you, Capricorn, as always, for your support of me as a reader. I obviously hope that this helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Capricorn.